Hey again, welcome back to Daily Dose of Anime Recaps. In this video, we'll be covering episodes 1 and 2 of the anime series titled The Magic Chef of Ice and Fire. As the name suggests, this series' story revolves around people able to cast various magic spells. In short, magicians. In the initial scene, the adult Nian Bing is seen having a death clash against Papalucas, the Earth Dragon King. Under pressure, Nian Bing unexpectedly witnesses a breakthrough in his cultivation, allowing him to ascend to higher realms and become high-spirited again. The boy then utilizes 7 varying elements to launch an almighty attack against the fatty Papalucas. The scene then gets there and we revisit that fateful day in the past when Nian Bing lost everything. Back then, his mother, Bing Ling, was being forced to inherit the ice god Pagoda and become its new priestess. Only doing so would help guarantee the safety of her husband, Rong Tiang, and son, Nian Bing. Unfortunately, things go south once Nian Bing comes looking for his mother together with Rong Tian. The father-son duo is even willing to spill blood and become at odds with the ice god Pagoda for the sake of Bing Ling. As a result, the two go on a rampage inside the ice god Pagoda, smothering any poor fella who stands to block their advancement. On the flip side, Bing Ling is on her way to inherit her master's mantle as the Pagoda's new priestess. Meanwhile, her junior brother, Bing Lu, and his 2 underlings named Bing Jian and Bing Rong are there to monitor the process and make sure everything runs smoothly. Bing Ling's just about to conquer the ice goddess stone and become the Pagoda's new manager when her husband and son break into the hall in a rather flashy manner. Rong Tian then interrupts the ritual with quicksilver speed, rescuing his wife from being forced into an undesirable position. Bing Lu reacts swiftly by casting an ice wall to halt Rong Tian's progress and even orders his dozens of henchmen to launch a combined assault against the intruders. Alas, none of Bing Lu's lackeys are able to hold on for long against Rong Tian, who's busy trampling on his enemies like some sort of blazing tempest. Eventually, Bing Lu himself enters the arena and instantly pulls a score against the father-son duo by launching his lethal ice rain attack. With her husband and son's lives at stake, Bing Ling finally shrieks to hell with inheriting the ice god Pagoda and instead rushes over to reinforce her family members ASAP. The woman first summons an ice barrier to safeguard her son from Bing Lu's fearsome attack. Later, she starts gathering energy to launch an ultimate strike. Meanwhile, Rong Tian borrows the flame god's right hand to restrain Bing Lu and prevent him from interrupting his wife's attack. Unfortunately, the couple loses their advantage soon after Bing Ling's master, who's also the current priestess of the ice god Pagoda, arrives. The icy newcomer instantly negates both Rong Tian and her son Bing Ling's attack and later declares her student as a traitor for being unable to forget her family. In her fury, Bing Ling's master attempts to cast a spell on both Rong Tian and his son Nian Bing, hoping to freeze them both for an eternity. To avoid such a cruel fate from becoming reality, Bing Ling herself intercepts the attack. In such a way, the courageous woman sacrifices herself for the sake of her beloved family members. Before being frozen though, Bing Ling flips the ice goddess's stone over to her son Nian Bing as a parting gift. She then shoves the 2 most precious men in her life away only an instant before Bing Ling herself becomes encased in ice forever. Bing Lu and his minions naturally give chase, resulting in Rong Tian using a teleportation talisman to forcefully send his son away. The cornered father then utilizes a forbidden technique to recklessly elevate his rank for a while. Doing so allows Rong Tian to monopolize all incoming foes, thus granting his son a chance to slip away. The last glimpse Nian Bing has of his father is when the latter is busy having an epic showdown against a horde of wretched enemies from the ice god Pagoda. Soon though, Bing Jian manages to track down the kid despite him having teleported to some distance away. The despicable dude thus starts playing with his prey, hoping to torture Nian Bing for quite a while. Fortunately, Bing Lu arrives in time and puts an end to his sadistic teammates' fun, since the target is merely an innocent little child. Bing Lu then tries explaining to Nian Bing how Bing Ling herself caused this tragedy by resisting against her predestined fate. Nian Bing of course isn't satisfied and calls the ice god Pagoda as being unworthy of deciding other people's destinies. The daring kid then jumps off the cliff and into the Tianqing River as an attempt to defy the so-called destiny. Bing Rong believes how Nian Bing won't survive the fall, seeing how steep and perilous the cliff is. The three pursuers then start pondering how the kid was able to utilize both fire and ice spells simultaneously when fighting against Bing Jian just a while ago. Typically, mages have access to only a single attribute such as fire, wind, or earth, etc., and therefore can't utilize any other elements besides the one. In the end, Bing Lu concludes how only by possessing stones from both the ice goddess as well as the flame god was Nian Bing able to launch some elementary ice and fire spells together. However, the kid's feat is still a bit weird, since both ice and fire are polar opposites and usually repel each other. Such a relationship obviously makes it next to impossible to wield both these attributes at once. Nonetheless, Bing Lu believes how the incident was merely a fluke. Regrettably, there's no way to confirm since Nian Bing must have surely turned into mincemeat after falling from such a height. The disappointed Bing Lu finally leaves after declaring the mission to recapture the ice goddess's stone and eliminating Nian Bing as an utter failure. Hours later, we witness an old gramps named Jia Ji fish the unconscious Nian Bing out of the river. The kind-hearted Jia Ji instantly carries the kid back to his cottage and even administers some medicine. Later, upon waking up, Nian Bing's anxiety fades away after confirming how both stones are still in his pocket. Jia Ji then introduces himself as Nian Bing's savior as well as the Peach Blossom Forest, which is the place they're both currently at. On the contrary, Nian Bing lies about having lost his memories and becoming amnesiac after falling from such a critical height. The boy of course dares not to reveal his true origins, since doing so may result in Jia Ji selling him out to Ice God Palace at once. After all, Nian Bing is still within the territory of the Ice God Palace. That said, even the slightest misstep may result in him being tracked down by his hateful foes from the Ice God Palace. Hearing the kid's explanation, Jia Ji simply stops pursuing the matter any further and even graciously offers to let Nian Bing stay at his residence for as long as he desires. Having nowhere else to go, Nian Bing of course accepts the offer, and soon a month passes by without any noticeable events occurring. Even after such a gap, Nian Bing's heart continues to suffer from agony and torment at the loss of his beloved parents. The kid simply can't wait to lash out at his enemies and level the wretched Ice God Palace as payback for killing those dear to him. The grumpy kid continues to lash out at the tree while in rage mode, resulting in him accidentally using ice magic yet again. Turns out the ice goddess's stone helped to strengthen his innate ice talent. Long story short, the boy can now freely cast ice spells as well as his usual fire attacks. Just then, a mysterious girl zooms past Nian Bing, resulting in his training session being interrupted. Nian Bing recalls how ordinary people can't enter the Peach Blossom Forest for long due to the poisonous miasma present everywhere. However, the unknown girl obviously isn't a random nobody, since she's able to stroll around the forest freely without having to rely on some sort of antidote. Nian Bing thus attempts to intercept the trespasser, but is beaten down twice as a result. The mysterious girl soon becomes anxious and slips away in a hurry once her face cover falls off thanks to the minor scuffle. Back at the hut, Jia Ji starts to appreciate all of Nian Bing's efforts since the young boy has been helping him out with the laborsome chores this past month. Later, Nian Bing finally deems Jia Ji as a trustworthy and reliable guy, and thus presents his savior with a half-truth about his identity. The boy claims how he ended up in such a miserable state thanks to him and his parents being harassed and pushed off the cliff by despicable bandits. Jia Ji of course sympathizes with the kid's misfortune and even promises to cook something delicious to cheer him up. The old Gramps thus utilizes the God Blade to cook some next-level dishes for Nian Bing. While chopping meat, Jia Ji claims how good food not only cleanses your body and soul, but will also help sharpen your perception as well as the five senses. The old man even reveals how he's indeed the head of the 5 great chefs and is nicknamed the legendary demon chef across the continent. Hearing that, Nian Bing wonders how such a celebrated cook ended up living such a life of misery, loneliness, and solitude all the way out here. Jia Ji obviously has his own tragic backstory though. Same as the kid himself, the old savior isn't willing to share the details from his past easily, since they're too heavy a burden to even address. Anyways, upon taking the first bite, Nian Bing becomes enamored with Jia Ji's cooking. At first, the meat nearly burns Nian Bing's tongue, as if it's a piece of burning coal. Soon, the temperature becomes mild though, and the food starts feeling tastier than ever. Finally, Nian Bing's sensory perception is elevated as promised, and the kid even experiences a breakthrough in his fire magic abilities after taking just one bite. Unfortunately, Nian Bing's cover is finally blown away thanks to Jia Ji's delicious cooking. Simply put, the breakthrough in cultivation results in fire magic manifesting around the kid all of a sudden. Jia Ji, of course, is left speechless with his jaw dropping to the ground. After all, never in his dreams had the cook expected that his rescued boy may turn out to be a rare fire mage. This wraps up the episode's end, and we are left pondering a couple of mysteries. First of all, how will Jia Ji react now that he's learned of Nian Bing's true identity as a fire mage? Will the demon chef sell him out to the Ice God Palace in order to save his own neck? Or will Jia Ji resort to his usual kindness yet again and help facilitate Nian Bing's agenda of seeking vengeance? Furthermore, even if Jia Ji does offer his unconditional support, how will Nian Bing ever be able to seek revenge with only his supporter being a worthless cook? That's all for now. We'll surely discover the answers within the next couple of episodes of The Magic Chef of Ice and Fire. And in case you're a subscriber with notifications enabled, you'll learn as well soon enough.